What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F123 My Team Career Mode, and we are here for round number 1 of Season 7 of our Jaguar Racing career, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for this season. It's going to be our final season on F123 before we eventually move over to doing F124. It will be a driver career on that game as well, so this is going to be the last time that we're going to be repping the Jaguar Racing name for at least a year, if not longer than that, depending on whether we see My Team updates in 2025 or not. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty historic season for us, and hopefully we can go out with a bang with a Drivers' Championship and a Constructors' Championship to boot this season. We obviously won both in the last season as well. It was our first Constructors' Championship, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to make it 2 as we make our way into our final season in Season 7. You can see I am the reigning champion. Charles Leclerc ended up finishing P3 behind Oscar Piastri in the Drivers' Championship. A quick flick through the drivers' standings reveals that in fact there are no new drivers on the grid this season. No team changes for anyone either. Everyone has stayed right where they were. That's probably the only incentive I really had to release Charles Leclerc from the team, if I had, was that I could potentially trigger a bit of a silly season. I have picked Lando Norris as my Drivers' Championship rival. He was the strongest of the 3 options I had available, but I'll be honest with you, none of them seemed particularly difficult based on the form that Norris was showing last season. Obviously, he was a big championship contender in Seasons 4 and 5, but last season he was not really there quite as much. And yeah, we have a bit of bad PR as an engineer fudged some numbers or something, so we've had to fire him to cover our own skin. It cost us a few resource points, but it is what it is. We now are ready. We're on the precipice of getting into our first race weekend this season, which will be Bahrain, returning to the calendar. It has been absent from the calendar for the last season. We opened at Saudi Arabia. Obviously, that race didn't go so well for us, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to have a little bit of a better time here in Bahrain and hopefully get at least a strong points finish, preferably a podium, maybe even a win. I think I have won here before, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we do have the potential to do something. Here win-wise, but you know, whether we end up doing that or not remains to be seen. We are running on 98 AI difficulty for most of last season. I was running on 95 up until the very end, when I realised that probably it had been a bit too much of an easy ride for me. So I'm hoping that that upping it by a few points should make things a little bit tougher for me. And indeed, you can see that I wasn't even in the top 14 in practice 1, but we actually had pretty decent pace considering we didn't have any soft compound running. We only ran on the medium compound tyres. So yeah, that explains why we weren't really on the pace of those who did do runs on the soft compound tyres. But in any case, it's now time to get into qualifying, and hopefully we can put ourselves right up there in the mix, preferably on pole. Qualifying typically my strong suit, of course, in Formula 1. And then it's just a case of trying not to go backwards during the race, really, when I do end up having those good qualifyings. So as we make our way out on track for our first flying lap of Q1, you can see that we are on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, and we are going to be rounding the final corner across the line to be a 127.6, which initially puts us P3 behind Lando Norris and Enzo Fittipaldi, and I imagine that this time will probably be good enough to see us through to the next session, but actually only just. It was only good enough for P14, so I did go again on another fresh set of soft compound tyres just to cover all my bases, and we crossed the line. We do a 126.8 this time around, and that is good enough to put us in P1 and see us through out of Q1 into Q2 very comfortably. Hopefully we can continue putting up that level of performance throughout the next few qualifying sessions. Charles Leclerc there as well, P2, awesome to see from him, right up there with me, the only other driver in the 126s at the moment. Meanwhile, knocked out here, Porsche. Perez in the Ferrari again. Man, he's not having a good time of things at the moment in that Ferrari. Vesti, De Vries, Joe and Stroll knocked out there. The only one I'd really say was that much of a surprise was Perez, but I mean, actually he's been making a bit of a habit of getting knocked out in Q1 recently, so maybe it's just that he's getting on a bit. I imagine by this point this is the 2029 Formula 1 season as far as the canon is concerned, so I don't even know how old Perez would be at this point, like 40, 41, something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's not really that surprising that he's starting to struggle a little bit compared to some of the younger drivers on the grid. He is comprehensively the oldest man on the Formula 1 grid now. I think only Kevin Magnussen really even comes close to him in age. And that said, actually, Albon would be probably about 33, 34, something like that by this point as well, I think. So, yeah, that's kind of a crazy prospect to think that a lot of the drivers that we're kind of used to being sort of on the grid and expected to be mainstays for a number of years are probably approaching the sort of twilight years of their career now. So yeah, we make our way through the final corner here in Q2. We're currently in 15th, so we do need a big improvement here, but we are improving by about 1 second. And as we cross the line, it's a 1:26.6, which should see us through, and it does indeed in P1. So once again, we're P1. So we've been first in Q1, first in Q2, and hopefully in Q3 we will be able to do something similar. Leclerc only 4th on this occasion, but he still makes it through to Q3 nonetheless, along with a bunch of other drivers, including a few surprises here. Norris, Verstappen, Piastri all knocked out here in Q2, alongside Tsunoda, Lawson and Fittipaldi, perhaps less surprising from those three. But yeah, Norris, Verstappen and Piastri. Piastri, the man who finished P2 in the championship last season, will start the first race of this season from 16th on the grid. That is a really disappointing result for the Australian driver. Meanwhile, his compatriot Jack Doohan actually made it through to Q3 in a Haas. So yeah, remarkable stuff from my former Australian teammate. And we will see what we can do now in Q2. Used set of tyres, we do a 1:27.1. That's actually a pretty impressive run in the used tyres. And hopefully we can have another good run on a fresh set of soft compound tyres at the end of the session to mark out our chances of getting pole position. But unfortunately, I actually did a really scruffy lap. I can't lie, this was probably one of the worst laps I drove all weekend. I just couldn't get the car hooked up. I don't know if it was nerves or something like that, but I really just couldn't seem to hang the car through the corners with anywhere near as much pace as you would expect me to be taking through some of the corners. So by the end of things, yeah, it was just an okay lap, a minor improvement really. And I don't know if this will be good enough for pole position now. I don't imagine it will. It was really rough. It was a 1:26.8 in the end, and that was only good enough to put us P3. So honestly, I was even impressed it was P3, but that was still disappointing.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Leclerc, Ocon and Robinson. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Well, at least where I have faltered, the qualifying merchant that is Charles Leclerc has picked up the slack, and he gets pole position for the Bahrain Grand Prix. It'll be Esteban Ocon starting on the front row alongside him actually, and then myself down in P3. The rest of the order is Hauger, Gasly, Sargent, Magnussen, Albon, Russell and Doohan. And yeah, we will see now whether we can make our way up a few positions, maybe get a 1-2 for the team as we get into the Bahrain Grand Prix.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. We go racing today around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and it's Esteban Ocon in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Robinson, Hauger, Gasly, Sargent, Magnussen, Russell, Doohan, Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Norris, Verstappen, Fittipaldi, Oscar Piastri, Teo Porcher, Perez, Albon, Vesti, De Vries, Joe, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And now it's time to head down to the track. I'm joined by Anthony Davidson at the start of a new season, and it is a clean slate. Absolutely anything is possible right now.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice, and they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Alright, well, we are going to be lining up on the grid very shortly, sorting out the strategy first, just having a look at the way that changing off the mediums is going to affect our race time, and I've decided that the mediums off on lap 12 I think will be the best call. Try and get a bit of an undercut maybe on some of the cars ahead of us. I don't know, now that we're on a bit of a higher AI difficulty, it's unclear whether I'll actually have the pace to stay with Ocon and Leclerc here. I think I'll be good for at least a podium today, but whether we can finish in the top position or even P2, I think remains to be seen really. It will entirely depend on the pace of Ocon and the pace of Leclerc, to be quite frank as well, because he obviously only had one win last season. It was in Australia right at the beginning of the season, so I'm hoping that Leclerc should be able to, if I can't get the victory today, I'm hoping that he should be able to pick up the slack and get it starting from P1. He should have a really good chance of doing it. But we've said that many times before in the last season. But we'll see. What we can do is the lights come on and the lights go out, and Ocon has had a slow start, but not as slow as Charles Leclerc there, and we have made our way up into P1 instantly. They both just went absolutely nowhere off the line. Ocon's made his way up into P2. He had a slightly better start than my teammate, and Leclerc has dropped from P1 to P3 off the start. Meanwhile, George Russell has made his way up quite a few positions off the start, as has Logan Sargent. They're both battling their way, trying to get ahead of Gasly and Hauger. Sargent already overtaking his, I would say, superior teammate at this point based on the performance of Dennis Hauger last season. Maybe Sargent is hoping that he can prove that he deserves a spot in the Aston Martin this season, and he will be trying to get ahead of Gasly in the Alpine as quickly as he possibly can. Hauger having a really slow start. He's already fallen down many positions. Leclerc as well having a pretty slow start. He fell down a couple positions as well, and now we are going to have to try and work quite hard to break 1 second away from Esteban Ocon to try and get out of that DRS range and make things as straightforward as I can for myself. But you can see through the straights he's very fast. Obviously I've been quite a fan recently of running quite high downforce setups, and as a result we've been very fast through sort of tight technical sections, but maybe not so fast through big long straights. We actually had a bit of a mistake there. We went a bit further over the curb than I would have liked to on the exit of that corner, and that is going to invite Esteban Ocon for a move up the inside into turn 14. Is he going to go for it? No, he decides against it in the end. But yeah, we definitely, I think, are not going to be breaking away from Esteban Ocon before the DRS gets enabled on lap 3. You can see Ocon is super close still, less than 2/10 the gap now as he's pushing to the inside, looking for a move up the inside. Is he going to be close enough to make the move stick? I don't think he quite is on this occasion, but we are going to have to watch out for the French driver very closely over the course of the next few laps, especially when the DRS gets enabled. I think he'll have a very strong chance of getting ahead of us. Doesn't look for a move into turn 4, and we are going to stay ahead of him for the time being. But as we progress through the lap a little bit towards the end of the lap and towards the beginning of lap 3, you can see Esteban Ocon is still right with us. DRS will be enabled on this lap, but it's not active at the moment, but that's not going to stop Esteban Ocon from absolutely blasting past me on the straight there. We tried to hook it around the outside of him, but he just has way more grip than we were hoping that he would, and as a result he's able to make that move stick quite convincingly. However, we're now going to get the DRS on the next straight. We're going to dummy him to the inside, look to the outside, squeeze him to the inside of the corner, give him the worst possible run that we can whilst giving enough space to get through the corner as well, and we have managed to keep him behind for the time being. But I wouldn't be surprised if Esteban Ocon looks for another move on us sooner rather than later. You can see, in fact, we haven't even got to the end of that lap yet. We're still just coming to the finish line now as we begin on lap 4, and Esteban Ocon now is right behind me with that DRS. Is he going to look for a move to the inside? It's looking very likely, isn't it? Up the inside goes Esteban Ocon into the corner. You can see he's further ahead than me, much further ahead, and now we're going to have to try and do what we did in the previous lap with the DRS, try and just get back past him, try and push him to the inside, and then sweep around the outside of turn 4, but you can see we're not close enough on this occasion. Esteban Ocon not with a great run, however, through turn 4, and as a result we're still right on the back of him here. Maybe we could think about going for a move down into the braking zone of the hairpin, and yeah, you can see I'm not quite close enough on this occasion to make that move happen. So Esteban Ocon taking the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix by the looks of things, and I don't know if I'll be able to fight this one back. Make our way towards the end of lap 5 now, and you can see that Ocon's starting to break out of that DRS range, so I think we're going to be coming under pressure from our teammate Charles Leclerc now. Up the inside he goes into turn 14. However, I don't know if he's going to be able to make this one stick or not. He will have the DRS, I think, into lap 6. So here he goes, Charles Leclerc looking for the move up the inside, and I mean, yeah, he's just absolutely hung me out to dry there completely. Logan Sargent was looking like he might go for a move on me as well. He wasn't quite close enough to do it in the end, or maybe he picked poorly when it came to choosing the side that he was going to try and overtake me on. However, we're right close to Leclerc right now, dummying him to the inside like we did with OCON a few laps ago, and then we're going to squeeze him to the inside of the corner to make sure that we have the best possible run and make our way back up into P2 here on lap 6. Meanwhile, Esteban Ocon has broken away by 2 seconds. He's looking pretty good for the win now, I would say, unless he has some sort of incident, or maybe we break away from Charles Leclerc and are able to close up to the pace of the French driver. I think that he will have this one in the bag. Leclerc looks up our inside, actually makes a bit of contact with us there. He left that super late. I wasn't expecting it at all, and as a result he's now fallen way back from me. I don't know if he'll even be able to really have a look up the inside with the DRS, but somebody that probably will is Logan Sargent, who's going to look for the double overtake in the pit straight. He's not quite going to make the overtake on me. He really was close to pulling it off though. I think if his softs had a bit more life in them, obviously he's been on them for 7 laps, he might have had a better chance of things, but Logan Sargent ends up falling back down into P4, and yeah, no overtakes managed to, or no net positions managed to be gained from that move that he made in that situation. Make our way now onto lap number 10, and you can see that the gap behind Charles Leclerc, whilst he was battling with Logan Sargent, managed to increase to over a second. So I'm kind of just maintaining the gap in front and behind at the moment. I don't really have any worries about whether I need to overtake Esteban Ocon or whether I'm going to be overtaken by Charles Leclerc. I'm kind of just biding my time, working my way through each lap, and then we can think about maybe pushing a little bit more once we've pitted onto those hard compound tyres on lap 12. I imagine we will have at least a 2-lap undercut on Esteban Ocon, as he will probably be going on one of the slightly more default strategies rather than the edited one that I've gone for. And that is part of the reason why here in career mode, as I've said so many times before, the undercut is immensely powerful, because you can always predict the strategy that the AI is going to do. That's something I would love to see in a future Formula 1 game. It's probably very advanced, high-level stuff that I don't imagine we'll see for many, many years, but more reactive AI strategies, like if I box on one lap, they then box on the next lap to try and cover me off, and, you know, such things as that. But I don't think it'll happen, unfortunately, just simply because it is quite a sort of a complicated AI thing to code in to figure out when it would be appropriate to do that thing. And I think it would probably just end up making the AI strategies worse, if I had to guess. So we come out in 16th, but obviously we are one of the first cars on the track to pit. I think most of the cars who are behind us have already pitted, in fact. So yeah, we make our way through now, and we get onto lap 14. You can see we've gained a bunch of positions from other pitting cars, but we're now right on the back of Zhou Guanyu, who's yet to pit in his Alfa Romeo. So we're going to have to try and get ahead of him as quickly as we possibly can, and there will be an opportunity here into the downhill hairpin, and we're going to go for the move up the inside of the Chinese driver and then squeeze him out to make sure that we can get the move properly done as quickly as we possibly can. And that was a pretty good move there on Zhou Guanyu, I can't lie, into the downhill braking zone. Yes, it was only in to the hairpin and had much superior tyres, but I was still pretty happy with that. And now we're going to see if we can do the same thing to his teammate very, very quickly. We're a little bit further back to Tsunoda this time, so I don't think a move into the downhill hairpin is going to really be possible. But there is one more overtaking spot we can get to before the DRS here. We're going to look for an Alonso-esque move up the inside of Yuki Tsunoda here. Yes, he's on much worse tyres than we are, but I'm still pretty impressed with how far back that move was, and the fact that we actually managed to make it work quite cleanly too. So yeah, caught Yuki Tsunoda a little bit off guard perhaps, as we go for a move a la Fernando Alonso in the 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix in real life. And now we are just going to be making our way through to the end of lap 15, where I imagine anyone who's yet to pit will be coming in now. You can see that Ocon on the radar is pitting, and Charles Leclerc as well, he is coming in. I imagine Porsche will be too, if I had to guess. So we should hopefully be taking the lead of the race here, depending on whether we manage to you know, pull 2.5 seconds over Esteban Ocon while he was waiting to pit. And indeed it seems like we have done. Even though we had to go for those moves on the 2 Alfa Romeos, we've actually managed to break 1 second from Esteban Ocon as well. So you would have to imagine that maybe I might be able to win this race now. However, it wasn't quite as straightforward as that, because the other thing you have to remember is that Esteban Ocon, of course, was on 3-lap younger tyres than me, and so he was definitely starting to make that show as we made our way through turn 14. Esteban Ocon looked for a bit of a move up the inside there. Couldn't quite pull it off on this occasion, but he is still very, very close to me, and maybe we'll look for a move with the DRS up the inside as we make our way into turn 1. We're going to see if we can brake with him, but unfortunately he just has way more braking performance on those hard compound tyres by the looks of things. Is that really the difference? The 3 laps makes? Because that would be crazy. We're going to see if we can get back ahead of him using the DRS, much like we did on lap number 3. And in fact, we actually have managed to make it work around the outside, but we go a little bit deeper onto the marbles this time, and that wasn't quite as clean as when we did it on lap 3, but it was still good enough to make us retake the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix for the time being. Make our way a little bit further through the lap now towards the end, the final sector. Esteban Ocon overtaking me, not even in a DRS zone. He was just burning battery there. However, that is going to give me DRS for the pit straight here, so hopefully we'll be able to get back past him and then hold on to P1 still through the next few laps. You know, still 10 laps to go here in the Bahrain Grand Prix, so we have a real opportunity to win this one if we can get ahead of Esteban Ocon here. But unfortunately in the DRS zone we couldn't quite pull it off there. Like I said, the superior braking performance just working an absolute treat for the French driver there. We're going to have one more bite of the cherry here as we go on the run up into turn 4, round the outside, much like we have done on multiple occasions already. This time he's really keeping his foot in though. However, with the superior exit speed, we were able to make the move on Esteban Ocon and make our way back up into P1. However, things aren't going to be quite as straightforward as that, because unfortunately our engine has failed. I really was frustrated about this. I cannot express how frustrated I was about this situation, because that has basically meant that you know, all this battling we were doing, this amazing battle that we were having with Esteban Ocon is going to go completely unrewarded for us, as we hold him up quite a bit and actually back him into Logan Sargent. Meanwhile, our teammate is in P4, inherits P4 as a result of my retirement, so hopefully he can at least get himself back onto the podium. The strategy wasn't fantastic for Charles Leclerc this time, so yeah, I hope to see him at least make one more position, maybe on Logan Sargent, as he will start to drop back as the game simulates the rest of the race. But yeah, really immensely frustrating not to even walk away from this race with a point, never mind the race win. Given how we were looking in the race, we were definitely going to be on for at least P2 there. We were fighting tooth and nail with Esteban Ocon, but our drive is going to go unrewarded.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly deserved win. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Esteban Ocon does manage to claim first place in the end there from Charles Leclerc, who managed to battle his way not only past Logan Sargent, but also past George Russell to get himself up into P2. A solid result for the team, and then, yeah, like I said, it is George Russell in P3, but a great result for Esteban Ocon there, and that's going to mean that he's going to be leading the World Championship for the first time in his career. He debuted 12.5 years ago, canonically, for Manor, and now he's got his 3rd race win, and he's leading the F1 World Championship, so a great result for him.
So let's see how the drivers' standings have changed. Esteban Ocon takes over the lead in the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Let's give it to Esteban Ocon. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Red Bull take over as championship leaders. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Obviously no highlights on this occasion because we didn't finish the race, so I'm going to have to keep my summary of what happened in that race very brief. Yeah, really frustrating to come away from that race. with the DNF to kick off the season. This happened last time we signed for Ferrari in F122, if I remember correctly. We had a number of mechanical failures, so hopefully this isn't an omen for the season. They were supposed to be the most durable engine on the grid, and it's blown up in race number 1, so that's not a good sign for what's to come. And I would hate to be robbed of a championship because of reliability, a la Lewis Hamilton in 2016. So hopefully we can get on top of those issues sooner rather than later and bounce back with a few points in Saudi Arabia. But that is going to be it for this video, so if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.